So I work with a few different clients. The clients usually live in Sydney, which is about 2.5 hours away from Oberon, and they need a combination of trades, but not just the trades you find in the yellow pages. They want somebody who's done a job before, who comes with a great review, who's trustworthy and capable of doing the job. Um, Oberon Council is also very good at understanding what the plans are for a place. So we obviously draft up first what we're going to do, the rough cost of the labor and the materials. We talk to council about it. And then if need be, we do a letterbox drop next to the house. So the neighbors don't get a shock when a big truck pulls up and, a bunch of stuff is taken to Oberon Tip. So there's a few steps, but as you were saying before, Tony, just jumping from one property to the next means you're not traveling 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. So when you're planning out your year, you would probably realize that if you're doing some work in far north Queensland, you'd want to leave that out of the summertime. You wouldn't want to do it in the middle of summer because it's rainy season. You also wouldn't want to do things in Oberon in the middle of winter. So when you're planning out what type of clients you can help at the summertime and at the winter time, you fill up your calendar to make sure that you're not wasting half the time traveling backwards and forwards. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Tony, but living on site in a house that's being renovated is terrible.
Oh, yes.
It is no fun.
It's not fun.
So you either end up renting accommodation, whether it's Airbnb or VRBO or bookings.com or at the local motel or hotel, or you end up compromising.
In a tent.
Well, maybe especially if you're starting work at 7 a.m. and you're getting up at 6 a.m. to be there on time, you wouldn't want to be in a tent because it's too temperature dependent. There's times in a tent where you're not going to get your first hot shower fast enough to get into your clothes fast enough. So it just slows down the whole day. And you want to be focused on the job, not distracted by weather, not distracted by the elements. So I aim to do things that are close in proximity geographically to one another. So there's one client at the moment that I'm helping to buy a property. They live not in Oberon, but they've engaged me to buy a house for them in Oberon. And they've given me the size of the land that they want, which is over 1,700 square meters. So now I'm questioning the local 20 real estate agents. I'm looking through the normal information that's on the marketing side, but I'm also doing the door knocking and letterbox dropping to the next door neighbors after I've done the research and found out what's close to the pool or close to the park or close to the golf course or close to the sailing club, so that we're finding the correct area, a big enough piece of land, something that can be subdivided, and then actually visiting those people to say, look, I'm here representing a client, et cetera, et cetera. While I'm doing that, and that might take up 20 to 40 hours a week to do, I can let somebody who's an electrician, a plumber, a builder, a carpenter come in, inspect and quote on a property that is owned by somebody I helped in the past. So if all I'm doing is opening the door for somebody to come and measure, it might take my time 15 minutes to be there and to let them through the front door and then let them out and lock up again. But during that time, I'm using that to make phone calls and booking in the time for me to inspect the property that I'm buying as a buyer's agent for my other client. So if you think about how long it takes to buy a property, but you realize you're going to be in Brisbane or you're going to be in the Sunshine Coast or you're going to be in Melbourne or you're going to be in Bendigo, once you've done this for enough years to know how long each process should take, I generally double whatever time I expect it to take. So if I think something would take 15 minutes, I allocate 30 minutes. If I think travel time is 1 hour, I allocate 2 hours. Give yourself that buffer, but then put everything onto the same weekend, the same week, the same 3-month holiday, so that you can get the most efficiency and focus out of what you're doing. So when you're saying that I bunny hop between the properties, that's true. But what I do is I make sure that one is at the level where I can release it to the professional experts with a license so they can continue without any supervision or without me having to give the answers back to the clients that own those properties. So at the moment, there's 5 properties that we started off maybe 6 years ago. There's 5 properties that we controlled. So either purchased or bought the option for or sold the option for, but somehow have a vested interest in. And of those 5 properties, 2 of them are now completely finished and gone to the next person, the final, we call it the ultimate buyer, the UB. So 2 of them have already gone to the ultimate buyer, but the last 3 are still in that process where the ultimate buyer is now commissioning the electrician, the asbestos remover, the cladding installer, the carpenter, the builder, to do whatever they've envisioned for that property. So my job now is to make sure that the people that say that they're on site actually show up and don't leave halfway through the day. I do send reports back to my clients. So I only use my mobile to take photos. They're not very fancy. They're not photos for archival purposes or advertising purposes, but it gives enough. I mean, mobile phones these days are so good that you can really get a wide screen from your mobile. So the lenses there let you take, the wide angle photos and all that type of stuff. So just for keeping records of who showed up, what they did, it's enough. And all one person has to be is there to make sure the person shows up, has their license with them, has their insurance covered, and all the important things when it's your 6-figure income that's on the line or your 7-figure property that's on the line. You want to make sure that nobody's stuffing around with it.